Final minute, judges, final minute. All right, judges, that is the 5-minute mark for the executive summary read. All right, Team Cypress, you will now begin your 25-minute presentation with interruptions from the judges throughout. On my mark. You may begin in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us today. My name is Jake, and I'm the research lead at Cypress Consulting. Today, we will present to you TD Insurance, that we understand TD Insurance's business opportunity, have gathered the research, organized the evidence, and have a solution. But first, let me introduce you to the rest of my team. So as I already mentioned, my name is Jake. I am the research lead. We have 2 marketing specialists with us today, Mary Dick and Jazz Leparar. And then I have my co-lead of research, Grace Hardman, here with us today as well. So, TD Insurance is a division of TD Bank Group. TD Insurance is the largest direct response home and auto insurance group and one of the top 3 personal home and auto insurance groups in Canada. Now, TD Insurance has got this position in the industry, partly because of their core value of community service, which is manifested through corporate giving, employee volunteerism, community partnership, and thought leadership. Now, TD Insurance backs this up as being a signatory of the United Nations Environment Program Finance Initiative, which is an ESG, Environment, Social, and Governance program to maintain trust with their stakeholders. So, TD has been around since 1955. This is a long time, and a lot of trust has been developed with consumers. Consumers have been sitting in the iconic green chair for decades for their insurance solutions. Over the past year, as you can imagine, things have changed rapidly. Technology is more present than ever, and it is present in the home. So, this presents us with a business opportunity. How can TDI leverage IoT, Information of Things, and AI, Artificial Intelligence, to create business growth that aligns with its core values, provides value to its existing customers, gains new business, creates operational efficiencies, and provides a competitive advantage? And what about that competitive advantage? What other competition is out there? Who is vying for the insurance consumers? And more importantly, what are these insurance consumers looking for? How do they feel about IoT and AI? How do they want to integrate it into their insurance? To answer all of these questions and provide insights into our research, I will pass the presentation on to my colleague, Grace Hardman.
Thank you. So before we enter this decision as TD Insurance, we need to consider the external environment. Let's start off first by the property and casualty insurance industry in Canada, worth $66 billion in revenue, but facing declining profits in recent years. Our research has found that the attribution for that decline is because of the high amount of claims. Claims are on the rise, and they're making up about 50% of industry expenses in whole. This highlights a need for a new approach to effectively managing risks and improving profits. Let's look at innovation in the industry. First off, smart home tech. Smart home tech, in contrast to insurance, has actually seen improving growth, especially when it comes to younger demographics. They also can thank some of their growth to the COVID-19 pandemic and people being inside their homes more. When we're looking forward, this industry is actually looking at an 11.7% annual growth rate over to 2025. And finally, let's look again at that triple bottom line that Jake referred to, the environmental, social, and governance rules and objectives that TD Bank, TDI, and its stakeholders are expecting in the outcome of this decision. Next, we need to consider competition. As we can see, TD Insurance has a 5.4% market share within the intense and fragmented competition of property and casualty insurance. There's little product differentiation, and this causes competitors to compete on the basis of price. So how do you dominate? How do you get a competitive advantage? Our research found that you can do this by increasing your customer relationship management programs and efficiently and effectively managing risk. So these consumers, when they're looking at all of those competitors, there's a lot of choices. How do they choose? Well, first, let's look at the consumers in Canada. 65.7% of all Canadians have home insurance, and the largest generation of homeowners are baby boomers. But let's look at millennials too. They're now the largest generation of smart homeowners, are driving suburban and rural home growth, and are entering the market, the real estate market, more thanks to lowered interest rates. And how do they feel about AI and the Internet of Things? Well, they're willing to try it as long as it provides personalization and innovation. And they're actually starting to expect these from the businesses that they transact with, as long as there is an element of trust. So what do the consumer trends actually mean that we're giving you? Well, and what do they mean to the decision? Let's introduce you to Jessica and Justin, two new homeowners who moved to Langford, BC. They were excited about starting their family in a new home, getting ahead financially, and laying roots for retirement. But were met with a big setback when the flood in their basement cost them $10,000, hours and hours in stress of finding, filing a claim, arguing for why they should be able to get everything back. I mean, the process that they went through created a negative perception of their insurance brand, TD Insurance. So how can this event be prevented in the future? Jessica and Justin think in the long term. So they want to see how this can never happen again, especially as they build their family. They want transparency and communication from businesses. So if they were to share data with a company, they want to know that the information is going to be communicated back to them in a way that provides value. And they're always looking for a deal. Instead of getting premium rates based on the neighborhood that they live in, they want to get a premium rate based on their behavior and be awarded in discounts for it. So how do we help Jessica and Justin? Jazz is going to develop that, and I'll pass it off to him.
Thanks, Grace, and hopefully we could get Jessica and Justin some help. So getting into the strengths of not only TD to start off, but the insurance industry in general, TD has been affordable home insurance provider in the industry for a while. It's also the largest direct response home insurer in the industry and in Canada. Digital integration is a strength for TD because when we did our research and we went and looked on mobile and desktop apps, TD was actually a leader in that essence as far as AI and IoT was concerned on web-based services. A weakness we saw in the market as far as TD was concerned was that there was a high claims to revenue ratio across the whole industry, but TD insurance was inconsistent with customer service as we saw on Inaugural. Inaugural is a program where users can leave reviews on insurance services that they have used. As we continued our research, we found some opportunities in the market. There was an increasing share of millennial homeowners, and 31.4% of smart home security system buyers are millennials. While looking at these opportunities, we also found some threats. There's public uncertainty of AI and robotics in general, as people are not aware of the capabilities and also unaware of how it can provide them value. Another threat that we found was climate change, and not climate change in the traditional sense, but in an industry that is paying high claim to revenue ratio on claims of fire, flooding, or wind. That climate really makes a difference. So as the climate changes, it poses a threat to the claims to revenue ratio that is going on right now.
I'm going to interrupt for a second. Can you tell me a little bit about how these different demographic markets that you've introduced to us feel about their privacy?
So for privacy, I'll pass that back to Grace, who can talk about the consumers and how they relate.
I'm sorry. What we are citing in our research is a 2019 Canadian consumer survey on artificial intelligence, specifically in financial institutions. And so the most overriding trends that we found were that they, first of all, as we mentioned, are willing to accept it if it comes with personalization. So they need to see the benefit of it. But there is an underlying concern with AI and privacy and just how much if they don't understand it, then they might not be able to actually understand the risks that are associated with it. So those were kind of our jarring two different sides of opinion on it, in that, yes, they'd like it and they want to be able to see the positive benefits of it, but they also are worried that they personally don't understand enough about it. Like, they see technology and they see the word artificial intelligence and it's daunting and scary. So there's this element as well to it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so Grace, is that the same for boomers as it is for millennials? I guess that's my question.
So it's a general, that is our general, like all of the population. So that's all age demographics. What we were finding though, is that there were more trends towards millennials quickly adopting smart home security because they actually felt that they understood the benefits of it more.
Thanks so much.
Okay, so from there,
question.
sorry, I missed that. Was there a question there? Okay, so from there, we'll move on to the next.
I think Mr. Carroll is having a little bit of technical issues. I will message him privately for his question, but you just continue on with your presentation.
Okay, so moving on from the SWOT analysis, we'll talk about our actual solution, which is alarm.com. We believe that TD should become a dynamic ecosystem player through a strategic partnership with alarm.com. Alarm.com is a B2B provider of services such as security and smart home integrations with things like Google Home and Amazon Alexa. Some of the benefits that come with using a provider like alarm.com: it improves TDI's value proposition through modernizing insurance, it's customizable and personalized to the user's coverages, and it also reduces claims to revenue ratio through prevention and risk management. And we'll go into that a little bit on the next slide as well. So as we start looking into what TD can really do with this application, we've come up with TD Security Connect. So this is an application that integrates with Alarm.com's system, and it allows for smart home devices to be integrated through Alarm.com, but still provide data to TD Insurance. And this can monitor water levels,
Just gonna jump in here.
temperature levels, locked doors, as well as smoke levels and CO2 levels. Moving on.
Jazlo, just gonna jump in here with Mr. Carl's question.
Yep.
His question was, what has led Cypress to conclude that TD Insurance has a higher claims to revenue ratio?
I can answer that. So in the case we were presented, we were told that TD Insurance claims to revenue ratio is 0.75. And in comparison, on the Insurance Bureau of Canada for property and casualty insurers, it is 0.57. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, but if there's any follow-up question to that, we could take that in the chat as well. And Damon, thank you for letting us know that there was a question. So moving on to the connectivity with TD Insurance, what we expect to do with an application of this magnitude and the interaction with Alarm.com is to create an app that allows instant notifications, emergency callouts, and prevention and early intervention using connectivity with TD Insurance. Moving on to the mobile integrations, we aim to provide risk alerts, instant billing, and usage summary for all the users so they have the data right in front of them where they could access it. And also the last step, we want to involve personalization in the process, as that was a big key in getting this millennial market into TD Insurance. And that would provide customized premiums, instant discounts, and behavior-based offers. So looking at the implementation, the first step would be to allocate project managers based on and become an approved service provider with Alarm.com. Alarm.com has many providers across Canada, and they deal with corporations such as TELUS already, which is why we believe that Alarm.com is something that is already proven in market and something that TD can implement very easily given the right steps. The second step would be to create a policy rider for smart home users in exchange for discounted premiums. So adding this rider would give incentive for users to not only purchase this smart home system or get this smart home system through TD, but actually use it and set up this data infrastructure that allows TD to predict crisis maybe, and predict alert or predict anything, any events that kind of happen within that ecosystem. The next step would be to set up a centralized monitoring system so that if any emergencies were to break out, like a fire or a flood, that the monitoring system could contact emergency responders. And the fourth step would be to implement a marketing plan. That leads me into the fifth step, which is to roll out the smart home program in selected TD branches to really pilot the program and test what works and how we're going to get this market to buy this product. And the last measure would be to actually measure and evaluate the data that is not only coming in, but how many people are actually using it effectively, and it's actually providing the right data for TD to actually make the correct assumptions and provide interruptive measures before something like a flood or a fire can happen. So from there, I'll pass it on to Mary to talk a little bit about the budget and the timeline.
Actually, can I ask a question before you move on?
So the marketing part, sorry about that, jumped ahead there. So in Western Canada, that is where we're trying to implement this pilot program, and it's going to be implemented in 4 select TDI branches. And the cities we have chosen is Beaumont, Calgary, Langford, and Surrey. And this is based on suburban growth and also the amount of millennial market moving and living in these areas. So another tactic that we would use is digital advertising to retarget insured homeowners within the TDI database, especially millennials who have a more higher likely to respond to these digital advertisements, and really is the target market here. Another tactic we would use is retargeting campaigns on Instagram, LinkedIn, and search ads on Google. And you can see that the conversions there will lead into the next slide, which is the budget and the timeline that we will present.
Question here from Mr. Carroll. Why those cities?
Sorry, what was the question?
Why those cities?
So those cities, like I mentioned, were based on suburban growth and millennial population. So these are cities where we feel the target market for something like a pilot program of this magnitude could be successful and be positive in the community. So those are kind of the bases that we picked those cities based off of on recent results from Statista based on where millennials are moving in the country. Does that answer the question? Yeah, so from there, I'll pass it on to Mary to talk about the budget and the timeline.
Thank you, Jazz. So I bet by now you're wondering, how does TD Insurance implement this solution? What resources are they going to need to effectively roll out the pilot program? So we suggest that the pilot program begin in January 22 and it ends in July 22. So it runs for about 6 months. The total budget is approximately $580,000 with a cost per acquisition of approximately $872. We've considered in this budget all of the advertising costs, a project manager to administer the advertising, and the equipment needed for the smart home system. I will point out that the equipment is based on consumer pricing. And we know that once TD Insurance becomes a valued partner with Alarm.com, they'll be able to negotiate discounted rates based on volume, and they'll be able to bring that CPA down. So moving along to the risk analysis, there's many risks in this industry. The key risks that we believe are regulatory, economic, technology, and competition. And we've thought of ways that we can counter these risks. So in terms of regulatory, we stay informed about the regulatory changes. We make sure that our smart home system and our AI and our digital platforms are able to adapt to those changes. In terms of economic, we continue to do market research, we gather market feedback, we implement and adapt strategies accordingly. In terms of technology, we know there's always going to be inferior technology out there. It is a very rapidly moving and dynamic industry. We counter that by ensuring our CIT personnel stays on top of the top tech trends and knows about the disruptors that are coming in the market, both direct and indirect. And in terms of competition, there's always going to be retaliation, particularly when they see a company like TD Insurance embrace a solution like Alarm.com, and there will be new entrants. We want to counter this risk by increasing the value proposition through customer service and making switching unattractive.
Question in the chat. If CPA is $872, what is expected revenue per customer, and will it affect net profit?
Oh, sorry, my mic is out.
Slide to answer that one.
Yeah, it won't affect net profit because we anticipate, based on 655 customers and an average annual premium of $1,500, it's at $982,000 in revenues. And we calculated that based on the overall revenue of the company being $4,780,000, which gives us the 21% increase, which we're going to talk about shortly in the ROI. So yes, no, it won't. They should actually turn a profit.
I have a question here. So regarding home security programs right now, TELUS and Rogers, they offer similar, I guess, softwares. Wouldn't it be cheaper for TD to partner with them or come up with a strategic alliance, and that will save us on cost too?
Yeah, there is a possibility that they could form an alliance with a company like like TELUS, pardon me. But TELUS is already branding this. They already use Alarm.com and they branded it as TELUS Custom Security. We want to be able to also have TD be able to brand it as well. If they go through TELUS, they won't have that opportunity. And I think it's a critical opportunity to expand their business growth by giving them that option. Did I answer your question? Thank you.
Another question in the chat. What is the take-up rate related to the advertising campaign?
Oh yeah, I could take that question. So the take-up rate, Grace, if you could just back up onto the advertising slide. For the take-up rate, it was actually around 40%, as that's what we determined as the millennial take-up rate for smart home equipment. And that's what we based the numbers off of. The 40% of millennials are interested in the product and would be interested in something that TD is providing as a home service in the field of insurance. So based on that, we use a 40% take-up rate and the conversions on each one of these platforms. Does that answer the question? I think that was a question by text, but if there are any other questions, we could take those.
There's another one in the chat, but I think Lindsay, did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, I direct messaged it to another judge instead of to all panelists. My question also related to competition here. So you're not pursuing something that is like a non-compete with alarm.com. Like you're expecting alarm.com to use several companies like TD to develop these products. You won't have, you won't be able to protect necessarily competition from doing the same thing.
Yes, that is correct. But however, because this is a pilot program, it was our other option was to create a proprietary product, which would have been a lot more expensive to pilot the program. So the pilot program is really there to test the market and see if it is if it's a viable option to go into this full force. And if it was, then the economies of scale would be there to produce that product and get it up there. But for now, because of alarm.com already provides this ready to go package and we could get it out there and test the market, we thought it was a more viable option.
And if I could add to that, Lindsay, just for a moment, in terms of the competition, we know there's other companies out there using it like TELUS and also Aviva Insurance, which is the second largest insurance company globally. So we're not worried about that. It actually lends to credibility to our choice in offering the alarm.com solution. And we believe that TD's insurance existing value proposition is going to beat the competition.
Hey, Damon, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep. I just had a question on distribution. I think you referred to using branches. So two things, I guess. One, you might not know, like we probably can't do that for regulatory reasons because there's some legislation that's really strict on separating the insurance company from the bank. It's called the Bank Act. Anyway, so I'm just curious if I'm not sure how important a part that plays in your plan here. Like I might have missed it, but I didn't see a distribution cost line, if there is one. So I wasn't totally clear on like why I'm going to the branch and what I'm getting there. So maybe you can just elaborate on that.
Yeah, for sure. So for the branches, we were talking specifically about TD insurance branches. So anywhere where insurance is viable for being sold. So whether that's through an insurance broker where there is an insurance section of the branch, or whether that's on its own, that would have to be left up to TDI to decide where they want to kind of put that first contact. But as far as the supply line goes, it's the reason we don't have a supply line yet is because of the cost being so. They might change drastically based on the products that are being purchased. If they're purchased in bulk from alarm.com, there would be a way cheaper price point than there is right now based on the consumer pricing, which is why we couldn't get a good grasp of what the numbers would be along the supply chain. But this is what the starting point would be as far as implementing this on January 2022.
May I add to that as well, just leaping off of what Jazz had to say? The reason why we picked those 4 branches were simply to make it accessible for the people, the consumers within those communities, if they had to speak to someone directly. So it would be relatable and accessible to them.
And that is time. Okay. Thank you, Team Cypress. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you, Damon, and all the panelists.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions and time.
Good Team Cypress.
All right. So you, Team Cypress, you're more than welcome to stay on the call, but I please ask you shut your mic and your video off.
Okay.
And then now we'll just take a 5-minute break until we get the next team in, which will be Team Grizzly.
And Damon, the judges should use this opportunity to fill out our rubric. Is that correct?
Yes, so take this opportunity to take your notes and grab water if you need. This is a short break for you to use however you like.
Okay.
जल्दी से डाइनिंग रूम में
Welcome back, everybody. All right. Welcome, Team Grizzly. Wait for our judges to return.
Fix the background.
All right, judges. So just like last time, you'll have 5 minutes now to read Team Grizzly's executive summary. I'm starting the timer now.
इसको यहाँ लगाना चाहता हूँ पहले एक्सटेंशन वहाँ लगा हुआ वाला दिया बड़ा वाला
1 minute remaining, judges. 1 minute remaining in your executive summary read. All right, judges, that is the end of our 5-minute executive read. So Team Grizzly, you can start sharing your screen. I'll give you the mark to go. All right, so Team Grizzly, your 25-minute presentation with interruptions throughout begins now.
When customers are filing a claim for insurance, the question that often arises is, whose fault is it? What if we would tell you that you can even answer those questions easily and quickly, and even decrease the probability of those occurring right away with the use of innovative technologies? Dear Board of Directors, good afternoon. My name is Clara, and I'm here today with my colleagues Justin, Quincy, Sabrina, and we are together Grizzly Consulting. Today, we are introducing you to the strategic issue of your company that your company is facing right now, which is how should TD provide value to their existing customer base while tapping into new business to elevate its position in the Canadian home insurance market. While taking into account the company objectives such as the triple bottom line, high levels of innovativeness to reduce the claims to revenue ratio, as well as increasing business profitability and sustainability, and finally leveraging the hidden value of IoT services, we came up with the following recommendation that you should enter an IoT strategic partnership. First of all, we must take an external look. What is happening outside of your company right now? Well, the insurance industry has lagged versus other industries in terms of its digital journey. As you can see on the graph here on the left, the insurer readiness is actually lower than customer expectations. All of this, including the COVID-19 pandemic, has led to an acceleration of customer expectations from a digital perspective. The implication for you is change has to happen now, and it is your time to act. If we're looking at the industry that you operate in, which is the property industry in Canada, it is growing at a 3.2% CAGR, and this growth is being accelerated through an increasing value of residential construction, increasing home ownership rates, and the rise in efficiency enhancing technology. I would like to point out some most common customer claims of home insurance, such as wind and hail, water damage, fire and lightning, which will come back in our recommendation later on. Important key success factors to consider for this industry include the ability to effectively manage risks, the possession of accurate information, real-time data to price policies, and a cost-effective distribution system. Obviously, the effects of COVID-19 cannot be underestimated, and COVID-19 actually acted as a catalyst for innovation for this industry.
So we're seeing a changing industry dynamic here with Internet of Things, smart homes, and artificial intelligence creating an upwards trend in the market and growing at a substantial rate. So IoT data collected from smart homes can be analyzed to create valuable information and predictive data analytics. So as we see, we projected that by 2025, over 45% of households in Canada will be equipped with smart home capabilities. So this offers a huge opportunity for TD Insurance. There are, however, some threats involved, such as when you're working with data, such as security vulnerabilities, a threat of loss of data. So it'll be of the utmost importance that we incorporate that in our solution when it comes to data governance and data management.
When it comes to your customers, it's really important to understand what they're expecting from insurance products in order to tailor them towards them, and in turn, they can be adopted quicker. Now, after we analyze what your customers are interested in, we found that your customers are looking for adjustable, connected, personalized, and flexible products. And so insurers must imply a human-centered approach to redesigning these products to exceed your customers' expectations and putting transparency in the forefront, allowing for collaboration.
Now we know that one of the challenges that you're facing right now is actually revealing the hidden value the Internet of Things can bring to the home insurance industry, especially to TD. So these include revenue growth, reducing risk and costs, retaining customers, and it also has immediate industry implications, which is offering the opportunity to be at the forefront innovation for you and be the first mover to use the Internet of Things in the insurance industry.
So now that we've taken a look at the external analysis, what are you capable of internally? First and foremost, your strengths. Your relationship with your clients is top of the line. You're highly recognized and you have strong customer loyalty across Canada. So you want to be able to leverage this moving forward. You also have the financial capabilities to tap into new markets and develop an innovative solution for these customers. On the other hand, though, for your areas of improvement, you are very closely bunched up next to the competitors such as Desjardins, Intact, and Aviva. So you want to find a way to differentiate yourselves against them. And this will be done through gaining a competitive advantage through those innovative solutions. In terms of management preferences, we want to ensure that our recommendation sticks to your wishes, which is really emphasizing your focus on the core values of the organization. So focus on the environment, society, and governance, as well as elevating your position in the Canadian market through purposeful and adaptable change. And of course, we can't forget having that budget request ready for the proof of concept by 2022 by leveraging new technology as a catalyst for growth for TD Insurance.
So to recap, why are we here today? We're here to analyze the strategic issue and give you an answer for how should you provide value to your existing customer base to elevate your position in the Canadian home insurance market. Taking into account the company objectives and management preferences, we came up with the following 3 alternatives, which we will now look into further detail regarding their pros and cons for your business. Option number 1, external data acquisition. So buying customer data externally from an IT firm that is running the analytics. Obviously, this has some pros associated to it. However, we do think that the cons overweigh the pros in terms of loss of control and inconsistency of data sources. Option number 2, internal development. You develop your own smart home gadgets. So we also do think that this might be lacking the resources and capabilities as of right now. And we know that you want to be fast to market. However, this might be rather slow to market. This leaves us with option 3, entering a partnership with Rogers to access their smart home technology. This will allow you to have access to reliable and consistent customer data, fully leveraging the Internet of Things and offering competitive premiums, attracting more customers based on their expectations. We might be facing a possible conflict with the partner regarding data ownership, which is one of the risks. However, we do think that those can be mitigated very well.
So based off these 3 options, we came up with the following decision matrix, which consists of a variety of decision criteria to move forward. So the 3 that we really want to highlight here is the ability to be quick to the market, be profitable, and have a valuable offering to the customer. As we saw through the trends, these 3 are key pillars to find success in the future. So that being said, option 3 was the clear winner by going forward with an IoT strategic partnership. So what is this strategic partnership going to look like? Essentially, that'll consist of an exclusive partnership with Rogers Canada to equip current TDI customers with smart home capabilities. So that'll mean harnessing the power of AI and IoT data as we saw in the trends and giving them top quality services. This will be done through 3 phases. So the first will consist of the 1-year proof of concept using the Rogers smart home technology. The second will consist of the locking in the strategic partnership with Rogers, contingent on the proof of concept. And lastly, after 3 years, and once the partnership is complete, reassessing the market and seeking potential expansion.
So after analyzing a variety of different potential partners for TDI, we came to Rogers. Now, why? They're first the largest telecommunications company in Canada and a leader in smart home technology. They also offer their customers a full suite of smart home devices, which is what you're looking for when you're entering into this market. So what Rogers can give to TD is the smart home technology, access to data, the geographical reach, and installation capabilities. And in turn, Rogers is going to want to enter this partnership with you as you can provide them with product sales, access to 11 million customers across Canada, and application capabilities as well. This partnership really has the potential to dominate markets, and it's very exciting. So.
Question from one of the judges. Do Rogers already have competing agreements with other insurers?
Oh, you go ahead, Justin.
I was gonna say, as far as we know, they do not have any exclusive partnerships with insurers to provide their services. So that's why we think it would be an ideal first mover advantage to secure partnership with one of the leading telecom providers in Canada. Okay, so now we're going to dive into the actual claims reduction system, harnessing IoT and smart homes. So this is going to go through a 3-pillar approach to prevent, predict, and assist when it comes to proactively reducing claims for our customers. So the goal here is to offer a financial incentive in the form of lower premiums to implement smart home solutions that lower the overall risk to the consumer of future claims. So the first step will be to prevent, and this is where our partner Rogers comes into play. So integrated smart home devices proactively reduce the risk of common insurance claims. We identified 3 of the major insurance claims or targets that these devices can reduce, including water damage, fire, and theft. Water damage, as we saw, is the second largest insurance claim. So when pipes burst, when they become cold or they become old, this is a huge opportunity to put in smart sensors that will identify that. And so these smart devices provide real-time information over the internet through notifications and warnings. So even if
another question from the chat.
Yeah.
How does this recommendation relate to TDI's triple bottom line goals, and what environmental benefit does this offer?
That's a great question, and we have considered that, and we have a whole section about that further on in the presentation. So we will answer that when we get to the visual backup. So sorry, continuing on the prevent, just finishing up my train of thought. So even if the customer isn't at their home or wherever they are in the world, they have access to this real-time information and warnings that can reduce and prevent home insurance claims across a wide range of platforms like tablets and computers and smartphones. So the second step is to predict, and this is where we're going to harness the power of artificial intelligence to really be proactive and have accurate solutions. So to do this, we'll be collecting the IoT data from the smart home partner Rogers, and then combining it with historical data, the data that you use to make your premiums, to identify your premiums at the moment. So house information, geographic, demographic, history of previous claims. Those would be the inputs into an AI neural network. And in the hidden layer, the AI will identify patterns and weigh inputs based on the risk and the risk to future claims. Finally, the output layer will create a home-specific risk profile and assign a safety score, an individualized safety score to every specific client. And then this safety score will allow us to adjust premiums according to the risk profile of the house. The target of this AI system will be to reach an average claim to ratio or claim to revenue ratio of 0.60. With the help of machine learning, this will improve the accuracy of risk profiles over time as they adapt to new information, as new members are added to the network, and we gain a greater wealth of information and data.
Question in the chat. TD is very sensitive for its consumers' privacy. How will this affect the partnership? Does TD have a say in data which Rogers pre-owns and will be using it for the pilot?
Absolutely. So a customer that signs up for the TDI home or smart home insurance program will be a customer for TD first, right? So we're not getting data from Rogers for people that aren't TD home insurance. That's part of the agreement. And we're going to be very transparent and very straightforward with the terms of agreement so that the customers know exactly what's happening with their data, and it's only being used in a fair, unbiased way to save them money and reward them for using smart home to reduce their risk.
Another question in the chat. Is this machine learning model already available or needs to be developed?
It would need to be developed specifically for this cause. However, there is a lot of, in the past couple of years, machine learning and AI has seen huge strides. It's one of the big industry trends. We believe that we can apply some of the similar things that other companies have been doing, and we should be able to implement it fairly quickly with the power of a strong implementation team.
And that's a great question. That leads me to my next slide here. So the last pillar in assisting, we know that customers are looking for a flexible and customizable product that you would offer them. So this dashboard would have to be created. So as you can see here on the left, Home One does have a full home defense system and several smoke detectors in every room, which therefore increases their safety score and decreases their premium they have to pay. So that is being adjusted based on real-time data. And Home Two has minimal smart home devices, therefore a lower safety score and a higher premium. So the customer can actually view this information and see what the safety score is for their respective house. And TD can actually provide active recommendations to increase the safety score, ultimately leading to higher customer satisfaction because you're applying and offering adjustable bundles.
And in the chat, what if the score means my premium increases?
So as part of this program, we would guarantee that your premium wouldn't increase, because at the very least, adding smart home devices to your house would not increase your risk, logically speaking. So your safety score is only used to give you savings based on your smart home capabilities and the other data that exists as well. So some of the considerations in the implementation, I've mentioned a bit about this. So data privacy is a huge concern. The customers want to know what's happening with their data. They don't want, that's one of the big concerns in the past couple of years. So it'll be very important to be transparent and upfront with how the data is being used through the terms of agreement, through informations on our website and webinars and our network. So it'll be very clear that the data is exclusively used in a fair, unbiased manner to price the risk of their house for the premium to reduce claims. Data security is also very important. Data breaches are a huge concern, and this will also fall in line with our cloud computing infrastructure. So we'll be using Microsoft Azure, which is TD's current cloud infrastructure partner, and using the industry-leading standards for data security to ensure that we have the lowest risk when it comes to data breaches. And finally, being transparent across the entire process is of the greatest importance for our values and for our customers.
Now that we understand a bit better about how the technology is going to work, thank you, Justin and Clara, we're going to talk about the pilot project and the details that is going to make this happen. So the pilot project is going to be a year long, starting in 2022 Q2, and the target is to equip 10,000 TDI customer households in Western Canada with Rogers smart home technology, and offering a 50% discount on insurance premiums to these 10,000 homes during the length of the pilot project for them to partake, in order so you can collect data and really grab your bearings in this new market. So again, it's going to be a year long, and the target is a 15% reduction in the average claim to revenue ratio. And the budget that we've set for the pilot project is $5 million, which we mentioned earlier, most of the budget is going to go to the development of the dashboard for consumers. Now, the partnership agreement. If all goes well with the pilot project after a year and you're happy with Rogers home tech technology in the household, your customer's household, we recommend that you enter a 3-year agreement with Rogers. As you know, the industry is rapidly changing, so this will allow you to reassess the market. Yeah.
First one would be, does Rogers invest anything in the pilot in exchange for customer access?
With Rogers?
Yes.
So they would, part of the budget would be allocated to supporting supporting Rogers to equip your customers with the technology. So they would be providing the technology to start the process of collecting this data.
Okay, and then another question. What about people who are already receiving reduced insurance rates for having other home monitoring systems?
So as we know right now, your company is not giving discounted premiums if they have home technology. And if they are, then it's simple as continuing that premium for the customers that are receiving that already, but switching the technology, because at the end of the day, you want to test to see if the smart home technology that Rogers is developing is the right type for your customers.
Okay, I have a bunch of questions coming in. What if only $1 million is available for the project portfolio? How does this impact your plan?
So if there's only $1 million, we would just have to reduce the scale of the program proportionately. It might be more difficult the accuracy of the program won't be as good, and it won't be as strong of a proof of concept for a larger expansion. So yeah, that would be the main issue. Yeah.
Another question in the chat. The discount you mentioned will cost TDI 7.5 million, won't it? 10,000 houses times a 1,500 premium average times a 50% discount.
Yeah, that is something we factored in. So it's an investment for the future. And in the financial slide, we'll discuss about the huge financial opportunity that this provides TDI. And we believe that over the next couple of years, we'll be able to repay the investment fairly quickly.
After 3 years, if Rogers takes all the customers to competitors like RBC or another company? So saying after the 3-year agreement, what's stopping Rogers from going to another insurance company?
There is, I guess that's where the market assessment is going to be in TDI's hand, because at the same time there may be better technology on the rise. So being aware of what's out there, and you do have 11 million customers across Canada, so that is pretty attractive for Rogers to have their technology in those households. So we believe that it's going to be a very strong partnership, and there's really no one that can compete.
If I can
Another question. Oh, go ahead.
If I can add one more thing to that. So right now, Rogers has a very high standard when it comes to their data and their smart home. I believe that 3 years from now, the competitive landscape could be very different, and there could be a lot more competitors in the comprehensive smart home design field. And we think that this competition could make potential exclusive partnerships obsolete. So at that point, we'd reassess and determine. I feel like having that established relationship with Rogers, if we need it, would most likely be able to extend it if it was successful for both of us.
5-minute warning. And then also another question. Have you considered the bottom line to see viability of the plans?
Yes, the bottom line will be incorporated in the rest of our presentation.
Thank you.
All right, so for the last pillar of our recommendation, we want to ensure we stick to the 3 core values, which we did see in the management preferences. So for the first one, which is the environment, we recommend that you enhance your current TD Tree campaign by partnering and donating to Tree Canada, which is the largest non-for-profit across Canada that focuses on areas hit by natural disasters. So we feel as though this is an untapped area which is in dire need, especially for cities like Vancouver, which are highly affected by forest fires. Secondly, the society pillar. So we recommend you partner with Habitat for Humanity to provide smart home technology and home insurance for 100 Canadian homes to be able to give back to local Canadians. And lastly, governance. So developing a clear mandate focused on the IoT departments and the policy changes for the premiums charged. The goal here is simply to ensure that all parties involved have a clear understanding of what changes are to be made. And the key takeaway from enhancing the ESGs is that TD Insurance, you can only organically grow from the inside out, and that'll be done by sticking to your core culture. In terms of the marketing tactics, we recommend you move forward with both an online and offline strategy. So online, as we saw in the trends, consumers are looking for 24/7 support and accessibility. So we recommend you implement an AI chat box on your website for customers. We also noticed through research that you need to enhance your SEO strategy, because currently you aren't on the first page of Google when it comes to keywords in the industry. And lastly, incorporating Learn with TDI. So this will be offering webinars to your customer base focused on home insurance, why it's important, the environmental benefits of smart home technology, and being able to connect a little further with TD as an organization. Lastly, the offline stream. So here you'll be able to attend homeowner conventions in metropolitan areas to really promote this new partnership and the technology and your insurance policy, as well as building a relationship with real estate agents in local regions, because we feel as though new home buyers are an untapped target market. And lastly, having a yearly event to celebrate the partnership with Tree Canada and Habitat for Humanity.
Questions in the chat?
Yeah.
What is the time frame to implement?
We have a timeline which I can go through right now.
Okay, I guess, yeah, just answer that one, I guess, and then the other question.
Sure. So in terms of the timeline, as you can see here, we start from Q1 of 2021 and go all the way until the Q4 of 2025. So this will range from implementing and delivering the proof of concept to ensuring that exclusive partnership needs are met from the middle of 2023 and so on, as well as enhancing that relationship with the Habitat for Humanity partnership and ensuring that the right decisions are made for the new agreement to move on.
All right, and then the next question is, any insurance provider as of now who is providing the insurance with using machine learning tech?
Yeah, I can answer that real quick. So most large companies are using machine learning to a certain extent as part of the data analytics. But as far as we know, no other competitor is using machine learning specifically for a smart home implementation, which we believe that will have a richer database, which will give you stronger business insights than your competitors.
1 minute remaining.
Okay, so diving into the financials, and we got some questions about these. So with this, I projected the overall smart home market penetration for 10 years, and then also projected TDI's smart home customer share as part of that as well. As you see, it'll get closer to the overall market as the program picks up momentum and as the competitiveness of the market increases. So for the free cash flows, I calculated the net increase in earnings as a result of the total decrease in claim to revenue as a result of our smart home integration. So with this, I created a DCF value, discounted cash flow valuation that resulted in a net present value of over 200 million. And as you see with the sensitivity analysis, even if the claim to revenue ratio of smart homes isn't as great as we thought, we're still going to see a positive net present value because this is going to eventually be applied to the wider range of customers over the years. And
we can't stress enough the growth opportunities that IoT is going to provide your company in the future, and smart home tech is just the beginning. The consumers are ready, the market is ready, and the time is now.
What we achieved today, you can improve your operating cells of the insurance division while aligning with your corporate values of your corporation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Oh, right on time, right on time. All right, thank you, team.
Thank you, Team Grizzly.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Great job, great work.
Thank you for your time.
Have a good day.
So like with Team Cypress, you're more welcome to stay on the call. All I ask is you to keep your video and your microphones off.
Thank you.
And now again, we'll take another 5-minute break. right. Stop the share. Here we go. Welcome back, judges. So next up, we'll have Team Birch. I believe they've just joined the call, so I'll bring them on board. What panel is? I believe Gabrielle is the final member, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so just like the previous rounds, it'll be a 5-minute executive summary read and then a 25-minute presentation. Judges, your 5-minute executive read of Team Birch begins now. One minute remaining, judges, 1 minute remaining. All right, that is our 5-minute executive read summary. Take a summary read, sorry. So Team Birch, you can start sharing your screen.
Yep, I will do so right now.
Judges, as always, you can either put your questions into the chat and I will ask them for you, or you can come off of your mic and turn your video on and ask. Team Birch, 25-minute.
I wonder if everyone can see my screen clearly.
I can see it, judges.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, thank you.
So you have a 25-minute presentation with questions throughout. Your time begins now.
Hello, members of the board. Today, my team that consists of Alice, our financial analyst, Alex, our project manager, Gabrielle, our marketing specialist, and myself, the salesman, are excited to bring forth our concise analysis and revolutionary plan for TD Insurance to thrive in the fast-paced digitalization of business. So with this agenda this is what we're going to be following today. So as we all know, technology has been on a steep rise in the past decade, from AI to virtual reality to Elon Musk creating an implantable brand machine interface. And it's only accelerating as of 2020, as COVID-19 speeds up the push to a digital world of digitalization. With this in mind, we must understand that TDI needs a proof of concept right now to think of a way to provide our products through the digitalization. With that being said, and fully aware of the traditional way of insurance, let's ask ourselves this question. How can TD leverage technology to enhance customer experiences, their market position, and by doing that, what we need to do is by reducing the claims through a new business model using IoT, the Internet of Things. Answering this question will increase the profitability and sustainability, as well as lead us to a more environmentally friendly line of insurance. I'll now pass it to Alex for our industry analysis.
Thank you, Steele. To start off, we'll be analyzing our industry, the home insurance industry. Right now, with our traditional method of selling, we are ranked the 7th in the industry. Even though it is not yet a favorable position, but we strongly believe that there is for sure room to grow and to improve our position. Whereas looking at our top-ranked competitors right now, including Intact, Aviva, and Desjardins, they are having a market share twice as big as ours, and even more than that. However, no matter where you stand in the industry, I believe that we can all agree on one thing, the global trend that is happening right now. Insurance companies are trying to integrate smart home products into home insurance industry. And we'll get back to this trend in just a bit. Moving on to the smart home industry, the following are some facts about it that is definitely worth taking a look at. The revenue is expected to show an annual growth rate of 11.7%. The household penetration is 27.9% in 2021, and this percentage is expected to hit 46.6% by 2025. For each smart home product installed, the average revenue that we can make from it is expected to the amount of $640. So all of these numbers, what are we looking at here? We are witnessing a significant growth in the smart home industry with an incredibly positive outlook. As businesses, what are we doing right now? There has been a transition recently. We have the home insurance industry and smart home products merging together, integrating AI into our insurance industry. And that is the key to our future. There is no doubt that this concept is still pretty new to all of us. That's why our competitors have been very discreet about it. But it is time to make a change. It is high time for us to move forward with the help of technology. With all that being said, now we get the chance to focus more on these two target markets. First off, it's young adults who just moved out as they will need insurance for tenants, and also first-time home buyers, which is estimated to be around 36 years old. Fortunately for us, both of these groups tend to be very flexible and open to new technology as they are already exposed to smart products. We need to focus on these two target markets while still maintaining and taking care of our loyal existing customers. Next up, I will pass it on to Alice for some financial analysis.
Thank you, Alice, for that interesting information. As we know, smart home is a trend nowadays. So home insurance is considered as a potential industry which will help TDI make a big change in their business. And now we will go through the insurance market share in Appendix A. TDI was the seventh with a market share of 5.4% in 2018.
Question in the chat. How does your target market align with TDI's current customers?
So like as Alex just mentioned before, is that the existing market of who we currently target to is around the ages of 20 to the first time home buyers and the people that are renting, so even younger. In doing so, we will connect. Wait, sorry, can you repeat the question?
How does your target market align with TDI's current customers?
Okay, so yeah, basically, because we are because the home insurance industry is increasing, the target market that we're going for is the first-time home buyers and the what's it called? The young adults and these are our existing customers right now. So in doing so, we believe that with our implementation later on, you'll see that it follows through and it will target the right people.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we will go through the insurance market share in Appendix A. TDI was the seventh with a market share of 5.4% in 2018, increasing an extra 10% in growth rate will make TDI obtain the fourth place with a share of 5.94% in 2020. In order to achieve that target position, home insurance is the best industry for TDI to make an innovation because home insurance had a big proportion in the total premium written, 35%, and a favorable industry in the digital life. Therefore, TDI should reach 5.5 billion in their direct premium written in 2022 in order to attain their goal. And next, we will go to the pilot implementation in Western Canada.
Question in the chat. Do your projections take into consideration competitor reactions?
Yes, I think so. And I believe that's why we should make it and we should choose a right approach right now. That's why we focus on the smart home, and we believe that if we can use that effectively, we're going to have more competitiveness. So therefore, TDI should reach 5.5 billion in their direct premium written in 2022 in order to obtain their goal. And now we go to the pilot implementation in Western Canada. In 2020, home insurance counted for $350 million with a 22.5% of the total premium written. Therefore, in 2022, home insurance should increase to $430 million in order to make a movement to the fourth place in the market share. By doing that, TDI would earn $115 million more in their revenue, which is equal to $28 million after claim. As a result, half of the revenue after claim, $14 million, would be the maximum budget that we can use for this project. So now I'm going to be passed to Steve for the problem solution.
Thank you, Alice. So for our first solution in achieving our set of goals, we would like to innovate our own AI and IoT products, such as security cameras, smart speakers, thermostats, and all items that can help us track data safely and confidentially. By doing so,
Question in the chat.
Yep.
What if the budget for the project is only $1 million?
I believe it's still we're still capable of implementing it, especially in Western Canada, where we want to do the implementation. It will just be a lot slower, the implementation. As you'll see, what we do in the implementation, what the costs relate to that. But I believe it's definitely possible if it's the budget's $1 million.
Okay, thank you.
So by doing so, it will enhance our customer experience and prevent claims. Now, introducing a new product will need us to market these products so that our market believes in us and our new innovations. In return, we'll be able to personalize insurance plans, better our customer experience, and reduce the number of claims. A second possible way of going about this would be to acquire a small IoT startup that has a good set of IoT products and a staff with expertise in AI for TDI to start collecting insurance data with. The product will focus on collecting useful insurance data to help customers feel safer than ever in their homes while enjoying the experience of AI and it communicating and learning all about you. Technically, it will be our own IoT department of TDI as we'll acquire the company, focused on the digitalization of insurance. As we all know, it's going towards that, the industry. And as the market grows, as Alex mentioned before, we will grow with it. The IoT department will grow with it. And our final proof of concept would be developing a strong relationship with Google as AKA the king of artificial intelligence, as well as the leading market position in IoT products. In this partnership, we aim to utilize Google's advanced data collecting, which will allow us to have a clear understanding of what customers want. In addition, the strong Google ecosystem of home IoT products will quickly build ways to prevent unwanted situations. All of this will ultimately help us connect better with customers, be the fastest learning company of insurance in our industry, and of course, reduce our claim to revenue ratio significantly.
Question in the chat. Yeah. Have you taken privacy concerns in consideration given past breach history of Google?
Yes, we have. We definitely know that data is very, it needs to be confidential and the clients need to know what is being given to us so that we can benefit, so that we can help our customers prevent unwanted situations, like I said. So Gabriel will go over it in our risks and mitigation in the implementation on how we will further explain on how we will prevent data from being used to other people's advantages. Is there another question? No? Okay.
Yeah, there is. Okay. Why would Google partner with TD rather than start their own insurance company?
That's a very good question. TD has a customer base of 22 million people at the moment. So Google can quickly start developing an insurance plan with TD as they already have the built insurance firm. All we need from them is the AI, and what they need from us is the insurance skills and background and what information is needed to collect when doing business, when implementing insurance in an AI. So for our recommendation, our team believes that alternative 1 and 2 are out of the question because innovating our own products would be too expensive to implement, difficult to build trust in customers, and build the IoT products. It just would be too much work, and it would not be up to date with our competitors if they're doing the same thing. Secondly, acquiring a small startup would raise skepticism, and it will take a lot of marketing to grow its market share. This is why a partnership with Google would work best for their reputational brand image, their largest market share in Canadian homes, and their leading technology, providing us with accurate data that is relevant to the insurance industry once programmed.
Question in the chat.
Yeah.
What's stopping other competitors who own bigger market share to do something similar? How does this make us stand out?
It's a good question. I would say Google. Okay, so yeah, very, very good question. I'd say Google like I said before, Google's AI is a lot stronger than any other, let's say Rogers or Amazon, which I was about to get to, does, because they've been doing it since the dot-com boom back in 2000. So their reputation and strength as an AI company and a technology company would overpower other competitors such as Amazon or Rogers. So as I was going to get to, and you may ask, like, why doesn't Google, why do we choose Google over Amazon or Rogers? Well, if you look at TDI's triple bottom line, this is another aspect of making an environmental aspect. Google's vision perfectly aligns in TD's positive environmental impact and having an equal and inclusive future. If you look at Google's website, it's committed to it's committed to have diversity, promote equality, and value inclusion while being environmentally friendly. Now I'll pass it off to Gabrielle to explain how we implement our big idea.
All right, thank you, Steele. Now I'll be covering our plan of action. So here you could see a visual representation of how our timeline will follow. And in the next slides, I will go into more detail about each one. So for starters, our short-term goal for the next 1 to 2 years would be to equip all of TD's customers with the most affordable smart home product, which is the Google Nest Mini. And this will allow the customers to get a sense of familiarity with the smart home technology. And it would be a great start for our data collection process. So with the data collected from the Google Nest and other devices connected to the internet, we can assess which insurance plans would fit exactly with what the customer's needs are. And this will save new customers a lot of time and money because we will be giving them the exact insurance plan that is perfect for what they need. And we will also be reevaluating our current customers' plans and issue them new ones that are more tailored and unique to what their specific wants and needs are in insurance plans. We would also like to begin by looking into how we can make chat boxes more intelligent and use AI to find answers to commonly asked questions, which would save the customer time in the sense that they would get an immediate response and they wouldn't have to be on hold for a long time, or they wouldn't have to wait a few hours or a few days to get email responses back. And it would also save the time for employees so that they can focus on more profitable activities rather than having to answer client questions all day. And sometimes client questions could be very similar to each other. So this way the AI machine will be able to, the chat box will be able to answer these questions clearly and effectively. So the point of our short-term plan is to help ease our customers enter a more digital world and to get them familiar with how things are going to be changing in the future. So having a smart home clearly seems to be a trend that's taking over because the market is projected to reach almost 3,000 million this year in 2021. And we have found the hidden value of accessing the Internet of Things space and how it will help reduce the claims to revenue ratio for TD insurance. So for our medium-term plan, let's take a look at the 3 most common home insurance claims, which are water damage, theft, and fire damage. And you might be wondering how partnering with Google would be able to help reduce this claims to ratio, revenue ratio. And that's exactly what I'm here to tell you. So damage caused by water typically occurs in the winter when pipes freeze. And there are precautions that can be taken in order to avoid this scenario. So lining your pipes with insulation and keeping your house heated are some examples of what you can do to prevent this water damage. And your Google Smart Home products will be able to recognize your location and have access to the weather in your region and can send you reminders and alerts to ensure that you are taking the proper measures to avoid freezing your pipes. And it's also possible to have the temperature in your home change automatically when the outdoor temperature reaches a certain point. For theft, Google has already
message in the chat. How much will the free Nest cost? And does this implementation plan rely on attracting customers to our insurance products first?
So the Google Nest costs about $30, but we plan on, so it's the most affordable smart home like product on the market. So by giving this as like an incentive for new customers to come to TD would be like a really good way to get more customers. And also giving it out to customers that are already existing will like help like not alienate them completely and introduce them to the smart home technology that's soon going to be taking over everywhere. All right. So for theft, Google has already partnered with Nest, which is a home security company that has products to help prevent theft and secure your home. So some of these products include the Google Nest Hello, which is a doorbell camera combination that allows homeowners to see who is exactly at their door, and they'll get alerts on their phone to inform them if there's any motion at their door or any suspicious activity. And if you are not home, or if you are home, you'll get the alert that someone's at your door. You can check your phone, see who it is, and if it's someone you might not recognize and they're doing something suspicious that you don't like, you could contact a neighbor, call the police in order to stop them from entering your house and like potentially stealing all your belongings. So yeah, and finally for fire damage, it's one of the least common damages, but the damage that fire can cause is absolutely devastating, and it's important to take preventative measures in this case. So the Google Nest is able to recognize the sound of a fire alarm, and it'll send you a notification on your device. So whether you are home or if you're not home, you're going to know what's going on in your house at all times. So let's say you are at a friend's house and you get an alert on your phone that your fire alarm's going off at home and no one's home. You're able to maybe call a neighbor, contact the fire department, like I said before, and have them assess the situation before any further damage could happen. And there's also smart thermostats that could recognize when a room is getting hot. So let's say your kitchen is suddenly getting really, really warm. You'll get that notification on your phone and you can go check it out. And if there's like a little stove fire or something, you could put it out right away before any more damage happens. So once we have an agreement with Google, we would like the TDI customers to get a discount on all these like Google Nest products. But this is something that we're going to be talking about, we'll be discussing with Google in the near future. As for our long-term plan, we would like to digitalize all of TD's other lines of insurance, such as car insurance, life insurance, and travel insurance. The technology is already there, and therefore the market share will rapidly grow. And all these products that you see below, so Waze, Fitbit, are already owned by Google. So it'd be very easy to implement once we see that this plan works. So now, of course, with any strong plan, there are some risks that we need to take into consideration. And one of these risks might be that customers are going to be reluctant to change, and it might especially be difficult for an older demographic to adapt to. But change is imperative. It's going to happen no matter what. There's no controlling it. And TD is already targeting a large sum of money to help support change and make it easier on everyone. So we believe that they're going to help us. They'll be able to make change easier for everyone. So customers also might be concerned with the use of AI and data collection, and it might make them feel uncomfortable. But what people might not realize is that their data is already being collected, and it has been being collected for a long time now. Every website you go on tracks what you're doing because you're accepting these cookies, and what they're doing is tracking your data. So even if you're not really for it, if you don't want this, it's happening and it'll continue to happen. So our last risk is that with this new smart home plan, people might not see the need for insurance anymore, because why need insurance when you're taking all the necessary precautions? But these are all the
Question in the chat. What resources from within TD are required besides capital?
So they need Google will need to understand more of the insurance side of things and like what insurance is required for certain things. So that way they can help each other out. Is the question asking with?
Like, what resources do you need from TD to get started besides capital?
So yeah, TD already has the customer base, the knowledge on the insurance industry, and yeah, so their knowledge and their client base is going to help make this thing a lot like bigger and better than anything.
There's another little question in the chat. If our whole plan depends on Google and Nest, they, in brackets Google, will ask for a bigger share of premium and eventually shifting big revenue to Google. How is it beneficial to TD in the long term?
Well, I feel like since this whole like smart home trend is really growing, it's going to be beneficial to them because they need the help from Google. And as Steele mentioned before, if TD develops their own kind of home security, home technology, it might not be as trustworthy because that's not their expertise. TD is not known to make like security protection, all this stuff, and Google is really known for that. So I feel like it's very important that they do partner together and mutually benefit off of each other. And in the long run, I feel like a lot of people, a lot of customers are going to go with TD because Google is such a strong name and their products are already trusted. And a lot of Canadians actually have smart home. Their smart home technology of their choice is actually like Google products. And in the States, I believe it's Amazon products, but that is declining and Google is even taking over in America. So I feel like that's a very strong way that it's going to affect in the long term. So our last risk is that with this new smart home plan, people might not see the need for insurance anymore, because why need insurance when—
All right, Team Birch, that is your 25 minutes. Thank you. You did a great job.
Thank you.
So likewise with the other teams, you are more than welcome to stay on. I'll ask that you turn your video off and your microphone off as well. We'll now take another 5-minute technology break.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, welcome back, judges. It is now time for Team Coca-Cola, so I'll now be turning their videos on. Oh, just hold off on sharing your screen for now. Yeah. All right, judges, your 5-minute executive summary read of Team Coca-Cola begins now. Team Coca-Cola, feel free to turn on your videos. One minute remaining, judges, 1 minute remaining. All right, judges, that is the end of your executive summary read. Team coca-cola, you may begin sharing your screen. As it is with the other rounds, it will be a 25-minute presentation with interruptions throughout. Judges, you may put your questions into the chat, or you can come off a video, off of mute, and ask them yourselves. Team coca-cola, your 25 minutes begins now.
Hi, my name is Sujit. I'm with my colleagues Devin and Arslan. Today, we're going to be focusing on profiting from prevention, more specifically talking about TD's home insurance sector. So let's jump right into the problem statement here. So the big question is, how can TD Insurance leverage artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things to improve its services, strengthen its value proposition, and increase its market share? To tackle this question, we're going to be focusing on three things. One, social innovation, data aggregation, and economic incentivization. We'll talk more about this later. But for now, let's look at the situation at hand. Revolution in technology is demanding an innovation in home insurance sector as well, not only for the insurers, but for the customers to save time, money, and lives. That's why TD is in need for solutions to lower insurance claims to increase profits sustainably. The plan is using IoT to be more proactive for claim events rather than being reactive. Many reports and survey documents have confirmed that there is an instant need for insurers to introduce new strategies in order to stay relevant in this area. So the top priority here is leveraging AI and IoT. There's no question about that. Now let's see if you're capable of doing it. Of course you are. You have already acknowledged the problem at hand and notified that there is a need for innovation. And you're a top 10 insurance company in Canada, not to mention with an experienced team. TD has also devoted $1 billion to strategies and operation functions, and also commitment to community as well as environmentally sustainable products. And one of the weaknesses is you're behind on AI adoption, which is not a big deal because most of your national competitors are behind on it as well. On the external side, some of the threats come from COVID-19, of course, with its complexity and delays. But one of the other ones is early adapters, specifically Europeans and some US companies that have already been on this movement. But that means there's just more opportunities because smart home market is rapidly growing and there's a demand for innovation in home insurance, which means there's a need for supply, and that supply is already available with artificial intelligence being introduced within the market. So you don't have to develop a new hardware or create a new software, so you don't have to spend money on that as well. But one of the things that's really benefiting you is you don't have to go find a new target market instantly. You already have an existing customer base that you can start implementing our recommendation to. More on this, I'll pass on to Arslan for key analysis and highlights.
Thank you, Srijit. So in terms of our key analysis highlights, there are basically four main overarching points that we want to cover. The first is keep in mind you have an opportunity here to lower your insurance claims via risk mitigation. And this is what Srijit was talking about when he was mentioning being proactive rather than reactive. And if we can limit the liabilities of the clients for TD Insurance, then that means ultimately less payouts, less outflow to clients. So it will save TD Insurance money. It will increase the profit margins of the business, but at the same time, it will have the social and client benefits as well. Because, for example, if you can, help clients limit the risk of fires, limit the risks of water damage, limit the risks of burglaries, then that's great. That helps society in many different ways. That's great for the consumers, the clients of TD Insurance, and ultimately it will increase profit margins of the firm as well. And so ultimately, what we want to look at here is what are TD's core principles? Because this is also very much at the heart of what our solution is going to revolve around. TD is a company that focuses highly on sustainability, on equity, on fairness, and we're going to talk about this a bit more later, but these are the principles that really guided our solution. So what is our recommendation? We want to incentivize using smart systems and smart sensors to lower hazard risk for TD Insurance's clients. So now what exactly will that look like? What are the details? So TD would create an IoT policy that will essentially provide discounts if clients adopt different smart systems. So that includes flooding and water sensors that will help
mitigate any future water damage and floods. That will include smart fire detection systems that will help prevent fires. It will include a whole host of potential smart devices that can target a number of different threats to one's house. Another example is a smart security system, which will definitely help in mitigating any future burglaries. So ultimately, this will lower hazard risks for clients, and therefore, by extension, it will lead to less insurance claims for TD. So think of it as a mutually beneficial deal. And ultimately, in order to make this happen, TD would need to create a complementary digital toolkit or digital web page that essentially outlines all of the information and guidelines on these devices, because there are a number of concerns that TD would have to tackle. So for example, this digital toolkit would include information on how to protect one's privacy. So we're going to get
question in the chat.
Yep.
How are the IoT partners identified and chosen? What are the criteria?
So there would be a number of criteria. We're going to talk about this a little bit more later. There are a few risks and mitigations that we did lay out. For example, one of them is they would need to have certain technologies. So for example, they would need to be foolproof in terms of how their UI is set up so that everyone can use it, not just tech-savvy people. Another criteria would be they need to have backup batteries in case of power outages. So there's a number of criteria, as well as economic criteria as well. All of these devices need to be affordable. So we do have a number of those criteria laid out.
Another question in the chat. Do you have any info on the value of discount required for customers to adopt IoT and share data they collect?
So they wouldn't necessarily have to share the data as long as they actually use the smart devices, and that's something that TD Insurance knows about. They wouldn't have to share all of the data. However, it would really depend. We didn't have enough information in the case to determine a potential discount. I would assume that as TD discusses with these companies and comes to a partnership agreement, they could potentially work out some sort of a figure. But that's not something that would be in the immediate scope of this case or something we have direct information on. But anyways, as I was saying, TD also has opportunities to partner with these technology companies and potentially access different revenue streams. So for example, they could, as I was saying, partner with some of these hardware companies, which could potentially provide discounts to TD clients, or TD could even get royalties if they bring new customers to these hardware companies. So there are a number of opportunities with this policy. But ultimately, as I was saying, the number one factor is that it would be a mutually beneficial deal where TD would be able to lower its payouts, and at the same time, clients would be far more protected from water damage, from fires, from all of those liabilities. So I'm just going to quickly go over the implementation plan. Our short term is till about Q3, Q4 2021. Our medium term is throughout 2022, and then long term would be beyond 2022, going into 2023 and 2024. So as for the short term, this is when we want to start acquiring funding for management, setting up the marketing team, setting up the organization committee, and really getting the basics of the project going. We also want to start beginning negotiating and talks with those hardware partners and really laying out potential partners. And then we also want to start building out the basis of the information webpage.
Question in the chat. How does this put us at a competitive advantage?
So that's actually coming up really soon. That's actually the next slide. So we'll cover that shortly. So as for the medium term, this is when we're going to start providing more educational resources on that digital webpage. So more comprehensive data and really complete that information webpage so everyone has access to all of the info they would need to adopt these devices. This is when we want to finalize all hardware partnerships, because now this is the point where we're moving out of the pilot project and into a more long-term project. And then obviously that's also when we want to start signing up existing customers and really get the marketing machine going for TD Insurance. And then as for the long term, this is going into 2023 and 2024. This is when we want to start really targeting younger demographics. This is actually a big opportunity because not only are they going to be first-time home buyers, but they're also far more tech savvy. They're far more likely to adopt smart devices. Many of them already have in terms of Alexa and Google Assistant. This is when we want to create reports on the social and private benefits of hazard prevention. So again, this is just more value-added marketing and just more information and guidelines. What are the actual benefits of adopting these smart devices? So this would be reports on that. And this is also when we would actually have more data from surveys, from public consultation, and we would know exactly what the level of benefits are for different clients. So then sort of that feedback loop would be created and we would get more data on sort of the effects of this policy, which then can be tweaked later on. So now I'm going to pass it off to Devin, who will talk about decision criteria.
Thank you, Arslan. So we have done a decision criteria to check if our hardware partners, AI leverage and smart insurance, enhancing customer service, inquiring relevant data, if they are going to affect environment, social, or governance in any factor. If they affect in any factor, it could be against the competition. So if we are good in these skills, this is the competition benefit we would be having. Starting with the hardware partner, they will send an alert message and prevention from major damage caused due to house fire, wind, freezing, theft, and other accidents. This device could also help in decreasing carbon footprints. For example, there is a company known as Red Series Switching that comes with built-in monitoring that will send you an alert that appliances that uses too much energy, so you can change that appliances to most efficient appliances to decrease the carbon footprint. Moreover, since these hardware companies are already published and they already have license, it would not be much legalized issue to get the license for TD Bank. Smart insurance, they will send an alert to customer if there is any damage in their house and if they need to get it repaired to prevent from major damages that might be expensive. It will also show them how much difference it's gonna be if they do the prevention damage or if not. Next, it will also enhance customer service as it would be much easier for customers to collect proof or damage that is required to claim insurance. For example, presence of intruder or home burglar or alerts and pet security kind of stuff. And finally, it will also help in inquiring data, which will help in proliferation of data from sensors and smart devices, as well as data analytics. They can also help in reduce and mitigate losses and improve risk selection and pricing, which will be beneficial to both customer as well as TD Bank. Next slide, please. Next, we will talk about privacy and security concerns which come.
Question in the chat. How do you address privacy and security concerns which come from these partnerships?
Thanks for the question. That's the next question we are coming upon. What are the potential risks that we could face by adapting this kind of stuff? So we have identified 3 potential risks. The first one is of privacy and security issues. So we suggest a simple solution of doing a workshop that will give a guidelines on how to protect your personal data and how it's gonna affect if you don't take specific data, and how it's, since we have seen recent lots of breaches are done in recent times, and contact more software company to build a larger firewalls to keep it more safely. Second and most impactful is lack of understanding of smart technology. We have seen right now, it's been so long that technology have come across, and there are many people in small town where there is no Wi-Fi or no adapter.
All right, question in the chat. There's 2 of them. So first one, what if the project money available is limited to $1 million?
So we are going to invest that money in the publicity, like software development, not in software, like particularly in convincing workshops that are going to be identifying these issues, the firewall that's going to be making more secure that their data is more secure, they are not going to be breached. And we are going to use 1 million for later expansions.
Okay. Second question, What are the advantages / disadvantages of allowing customers to choose the hardware product versus partnering with one company that would provide consistent products?
The advantages is the customer would feel more comfortable the hardware company that they select, but the disadvantage, I would say, according to the bank side, would be like if you select the company and if you have a common company hardware company that provides the hardware to all the customers, that's going to give you commission, and that way it could be a different kind of revenue generator as well.
Okay, another question. What is the bottom line profit prediction as per your plans?
I could actually answer that one. So we did some statistics. Unfortunately, we don't have all of the financial information we would need from the case. However, based on some of our research, we do know that water damage and freezing was nearly a quarter of all homeowner insurance claims, with the average claim being something like $10,000. And then also fires are the most severe payout, meaning they cost the most money when they do happen. So just between those two, we don't know the exact number because we don't know how much TD pays out annually, but there would be a significant cost savings, even just from water damages and from fires. So we estimate it would be within the millions, but we don't know exactly how much.
Yeah, I will continue with what if there's a lack of understanding. So we would be figuring out to target younger demographics, and based on their feedback, we will create a guideline or workshop that older demographics could follow that would make more easier for them to use this smart insurance app or a device. Third is the least impactful, that is inconvenience of a power outage. What if there is no power for a couple of hours and at the same time theft occurs or any accident occurs? How would that device track this accident? For this, we suggest a simple solution to partner with the hardware companies that utilizes backup battery bank or use a solar power bank. Next, please. To conclude, we propose that TD incentive the adoption of smart home protection system in order to decrease insurance claim and protect clients from major losses. Our recommendation will lower outflow from insurance claim, protect clients and common goods, and capture younger market segmentation, which will help to increase TD's value to the society, save money, and capture new market demographics. We would like to thank all of you to come in today, and now we are open for the questions.
So as for the timer, there are still 7 minutes and 50 seconds left. So we will use the rest of the time for questions from the judges.
I'll come on and ask my question then. I'm wondering about, because you're giving customers the choice to choose their device, if the device fails, who's responsible? And do you think these devices are all created equally? Are they all of equal quality?
Yeah, so I can answer that first question. So before I answer that, just to clarify, we decided to go with a pathway that has the least risk for TDI and that also costs the least amount of money, because essentially all we're doing is we are encouraging clients to adopt smart technology, and in return they would get a discount. But as part of that, TDI would not actually take on any of the risks from adopting smart technology within the contracts that they sign. So if the devices fail, it would be whoever is responsible if insurance wasn't even a factor and they just got the smart technology on their own. So it would be more so based on the actual hardware companies that build the devices, but TDI would not be responsible.
What other resources besides capital do you think you will need from TD, and how is that going to affect our current situation?
Yeah, so actually one of the great things with our plan is it's actually very cost effective, because you wouldn't have to build your own technology. There's no R&D costs, nothing like that. It's basically just a policy change and then a marketing plan to go along with that. So most of the cost would revolve around marketing and essentially marketing. So it's something that's very flexible. It's something that can scale depending on what the actual budget is of TD for this project. But beyond that, I wouldn't say there's any other significant capital costs.
If the judges have no further questions, I'll leave it open, but if there are no other questions, I will end it at that time.
I guess, can I just probe a little bit on your position that the device manufacturer would be responsible for failure, if I understand correctly? So if the failure results in like a flood or a fire, like, are you saying that the device manufacturer would then be responsible for the damage as well? Like, it almost feels like they're becoming the home insurer versus TDI under that scenario.
No, just to clarify, so for example, if let's say one of the devices fails and there is still water damage, so then insurance would still, they would still, have the opportunity to claim that with their insurance and then get a payout. But TDI would not be responsible for the actual technological failure. But of course, they would still have the opportunity to, actually claim the damage from TDI. So it would be like as if they never had the device in the first place. But we
Okay.
that rarely happen.
That's a bit challenging for TD to offer a discount to install the device then, isn't it? If they're still going to carry the same liability?
Well, I would say the main difference is technological failures are usually fairly uncommon, especially if we encourage or partner with hardware manufacturers that have really high manufacturing standards and have the reputation of failing very rarely. So there are ways to limit that risk.
Also, to add on to that, we're not sending in the customer blind into research for the IoT products. Like we mentioned in the executive summary, we're looking to get percentage royalties on any IoT products that we recommend to our customers from the developer. So we will have recommendations for the customers as well, and they can also choose their own options if they like some other provider better.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, judges, if there are no more questions, I'll leave it open for another 30 seconds and then we'll call it there.
Yeah. No more questions for me, Damon. Thanks.
No more questions for me either.
Yeah, we are good for now, I think.
Okay, I think we'll call it there. Thank you, Team Coca-Cola. Very well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we will now take another last 5-minute break before our final team. All right, welcome back, judges. So our last and final team I'd like to welcome is Team Cronest.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hi guys.
So judges, your executive summary read of Team Crow's Nest begins now. Final minute, judges, final minute. All right, judges, that is the end of the executive summary read. Team Crow's Nest, you can share your screen, but please don't start quite yet.
Sorry, I can share my screen now?
Yes. So as with the other teams, you have a 25-minute presentation with questions throughout. Judges may ask questions through the chat, which I will read out, or they can come onto video and ask themselves. Team Crow's Nest, your 25-minute presentation begins now.
The average building takes over 2 years to build. And with any big project such as a skyscraper, you need to have a solid foundation. Our goal today is to build this metaphorical TD Insurance skyscraper. It's about creating a solid base from which TD can create a strategy and to create a scalable pilot project to leverage its internal IoT and machine learning capabilities. We tackle this through our 3-step approach. First, it's all about having a data acquisition channels with IoT. Then it's doing in-depth data analysis with machine learning engines to then enable data solutions such as machine learning fraud detection systems and personalization engines. At the end of the day, this impact will be that you'll have a reduced claim to revenue ratio by 10% by the year 2025 if you implement our solution. And we're recommending a 6-month pilot project that will cost $785,000 over 6 months. So let us show you how we can reach the sky with TD Insurance. We are Crow's Nest Consulting, and let us show you how.
So let's take a second to consider some trends in the environment that we operate in. COVID-19 has changed everything about our lives, and businesses are not immune to this change. In fact, over 95% of global companies are now seeking new ways of engaging their customers through digital channels in order to adapt to the pandemic. Furthermore, IoT, or the Internet of Things, is gaining significant traction, and the total number of IoT wireless connections is forecasted to grow at an unprecedented 390% until 2029. One of the areas in which IoT has shown potential is its use in business, and specifically, we want to focus on the insurance business. Machine learning models that are created from IoT data are used extensively in insurance processes, like underwriting, claims, and product development. Now, on the topic of the insurance industry, our analysis has revealed 4 major challenges that this company is facing, namely traditional reactive approaches to claims, low levels of fraud detection, inefficient underwriting, and low customer retention. However, we see that there is an opportunity here for TD Insurance to leverage IoT data in order to improve their insurance processes through a proactive approach, improving fraud detection, and creating personalized product packages for customers.
So before capturing those opportunities, understanding your customer is the first step for personalization. So we have identified the target demographic for TD Insurance, which is individuals who range from 18 to 34 years old and who's looking for personalization. Those insightful customer data then can be utilized to create those personalized package insurance coverage for those individuals. To understand your customer in a deeper level, we've created this customer profile, Carla Bruni, who has just constructed her swimming pool in her backyard. And now she's looking for more insurance coverage for her insurance. So let's take a look at Carla's purchasing journey. Through this process, we've identified 2 key challenges. So first one, we've identified that there's no login features for new client. And second, the question was asking in the online quote portal is lack personalization. And this will further lead to lack of data to personalize your offers. We propose this opportunity that TD Insurance can utilize Internet of Things connectedness to collect data to understand your customers and further offer personalized insurance packages. On top of that, we also want to mention that TD Insurance model allows leveraging customer data. Not like the other competitors in the same industry who uses third-party brokers, TD Insurance choose directly interact with their customers with TD representative and agents. that propose opportunities of controls of underwriting and risk profiling capabilities, and that will lead to improve the product offering. And further on, you will be having this data ownership for advanced data analysis with machine learning techniques.
With that, we've made the case that IoT is a huge data source and machine learning has huge capabilities. Next, the key step is which TD insurance service line should you focus on for a 6-month pilot project because you only have so many resources. According to Microsoft, these are the 8 potential use cases for machine learning within insurance, and our analysis has indicated that TD Home and TD Life Insurance have the highest applicable use cases within those that have been uncovered. So the next key thing to look at is, well, you're going to look into life insurance and home insurance for proof of concepts. How are you going to prioritize machine learning techniques? And with looking at a matrix of complexity of implementation and with our need/nice to have, we have identified that personalized offers, fraud detection, recommendation engine, and lapse management are those that you should focus on with regards to machine learning techniques to improve the customer outcome. And this isn't something that is a huge revelation, as insurers such as Liberty Mutual, State Farm, and Oscar have already done this in the US.
To build the foundation of the TDI IoT skyscraper, you need to focus on acquiring that valuable data about your customers to create more depth profile. For that, we suggest...
Will all project money be spent on machine learning models?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Will all the project money be spent on machine learning models?
So I'm more than happy to walk through the finances for the costs. Let me just bring this to you. So within the actual cost, we foresee that the cost of actually doing machine learning is primarily people. So we've allocated $660,000 for 6 months for use of internal billing resources. What this means is if you have data scientists, data analysts, business analysts, project managers who are going to work on this project, you need to build internally for them. The cost of actually having things like Azure resource groups, we amount to that to $25,000. And we have other costs such as external consultation, as well as a steering committee budget in case there's going to be, or there should be, executive oversight for this project.
All right, thank you.
Cool, so we'll just go back to our slide really quickly. There you go.
So to build your foundation, you need to acquire that data. For that, we suggest you a partnership ecosystem approach to follow. As you require more data to see the full picture of your customers, you need to expand the amount of sources you can get that data from. Specifically, for TDI Home, we propose you to partner with home security providers. This could be done through API sharing of data with informed consent. You, your partner, and your customers will benefit from this partnership. Particularly, you will have an opportunity to get some valuable insights from customers' homes devices. As chances of careless home break-in with home security decreases, your claims expenditure might decrease accordingly. Potential partners for your TDI Home are TELUS and Best Buy, as they provide home security packages that you can leverage data from. These partners have large customer base, and they also ESG oriented.
Question from the chat. How does this affect customer security/privacy?
Absolutely. Let us show you how we've addressed customer privacy as well as ESG concerns for this. And we also have in a slide in the appendix if you're interested in the data governance model that TD currently implies. However, that is a bit more of an in-depth thing.
So for sure. So for the ethical source and use of data is actually the top priority for TD because you want to build this trust relationship in the ecosystem. So as far as we know, TD Group already have a code of conduct of ethical usage of data. However, we do recommend you to implement TD Insurance Code of Conduct, which will be focusing on implementing proper access restrictions within those individual divisions, implement trainings and workshops for reinforcement, work with Chief Digital Officer, Chief Risk Officer to ensure data governance structure, and also keep track of external regulation change as we see that there's a rapid change in the legal environment that GDPR has been passed and California Privacy Act has been passed in recent years. So you really need to keep track of the regulations as well.
So just go back to our previous slide to move on. Thank you.
While home without security management is 300% more likely to be burglarized, TD can capitalize on potential partnership with TELUS and Best Buy with home security providers by encouraging their home insurance customers to install smart home devices to get both security protection and premium discount, thus preventing TDI from paying a percentage of claims amount.
So the second business unit we identified was TD Life Insurance. And in order to effectively handle this new venture, TD will need to develop another mutually beneficial relationship similar to the one in TD Home, except the partner companies here will be those companies that create wearable health monitoring devices, as well as those that create dietary or fitness apps. The relationship will work in this way. The partner company will provide TD with valuable customer data with the informed consent of the customer, of course, while TD will engage in the cross-selling of the partner company product. In doing this, TD is able to improve the health of their customers while also reducing claim events, and the partner company experiences a boost in sales. As an added benefit, our customer Carla is happy that she receives a reduced premium as an incentive for her to share her data with TD. Now, let's look at some examples of companies you can consider partnering with.
Question from the chat. How are these partners chosen and based on what criteria?
First, we look at the partners' customer base, how many customers they have. Secondly, we also focus on ESG approach, so that the ESG approach is aligned with TDI approach. And lastly, we want to focus mainly on customer experience.
Excellent. So we can go back to the other slide then. Yeah, so as for wearable devices, here are 4 potential companies that you can consider partnering with, which includes Fitbit, Apple Watch, Oura, and Pebble. And for the applications, we decided to focus on those companies that create fitness apps and dietary apps, such as Strava and Fujicate. At this point, I'd like to show you a case study about Oscar Health Insurance. Oscar is a technology-driven health insurance company from the United States, and recently they've partnered with Apple Health. Together, they've created a program that allows customers to earn $1 each day if they reach a certain fitness goal. The customer can earn up to $100 a year that they can put towards reducing their premiums. This program has shown great positive initial results. Now, we know from reliable sources that these fitness trackers and fitness apps can be a great tool for heart health as well as taking steps towards positive behavioral changes. But why should TD care about this? Well, healthier, more active customers means fewer health-related claim events for you, as well as improved feelings of health and wellness for the customer. And at the end of the day, it is all about the customer.
So to build the substructure of your skyscraper, we're now moving on to our second part of the recommendation, which is focusing on data analysis engine with machine learning. So as we mentioned, from the data acquisition, we can get valuable customer data from health app and other internal sources. So we recommend you to leverage your existing partnership as Microsoft is one of your service provider and also Layer 6 AI to process those data and further implement into the machine learning techniques. So how does machine learning can mine insights to better target your customer? Let's walk through a real example about deep learning.
So just as we talked about Carla and her customer persona, let's look back at her example. So she's bought a swimming pool, but she's made a crucial mistake. She's forgot to increase her her home insurance coverage with this new build. You can use deep learning and computer vision to look at GIS data, or what we know as maps, to build a model that can detect pool in a customer's backyard. What you can then do is check if there's a certainty between that build, and then look at Carla's insurance plan and see, is she covered for a pool? If she is covered, then you don't do anything. But if she isn't covered, which is the main case, you can then give her an update to her TD insurance platform and say, hey, we noticed you have a new pool. Would you like to increase your coverage to account for the swimming pool data? Carla would greatly appreciate this because it could have been an oversight on her part, and it appreciates the personalization that would come from this platform.
From the chat. For reducing claims, Health App is more reliable than a semi-annual checkup by a doctor.
Yeah, so I can answer that. So of course, going to the doctor is necessary and most people are doing that regardless. The point of the health app and or the wearable is more or less to monitor every day's vital signs, as no one is going to the doctor more than once or twice a year. So that's a lot of distance between data gathering. So the customer is experiencing marginal benefits by using this app and this wearable, but TD is experiencing massive benefits in terms of daily data collection that can be very useful in underwriting for insurance and creating better packages.
So as we already talked about it, we're just moving on to our third part of the recommendation, data-enabled solutions. Let's bring back to the car-like example. So we have created this mock-up on the My Insurance, which is the current platform TD is using to interact with the clients. This platform can help TD to increase the customer engagement, accurate recommendation, and further leads on to the high purchase rate. Those key features included enable profile building for new customers, personalized recommendation feature. As you can see here, your swimming pool worth $30,000. Make sure you get enough coverage. That's a reminder for Carla. And increase client engagement by pop-up features.
So now that we've talked about personalization, we also have to take into account that machine learning can do much more than that. Fraud is a huge problem for insurers, as they pay up to 10% of their claims on fraudulent activity annually. So how can you mitigate this risk? Well, most insurance fraud is opportunistic and can be detected through the following rules. First one is business rules, and the one we really want to focus on is anomaly detection, predictive models, and social network analysis, which can detect more organized crime. And how is it enabled? Machine learning. So let's give you an example of how anomaly detection can see if Carla is actually making a fraudulent claim. Let's say that her pool broke down and she is filing a claim because she recently got pool insurance through TD. It's, for example, let's say she puts a claim for $45,000. What you could do is look at cross-reference existing data on claims about pools and see that the average pool that is comparable to Carla is actually only took $1,000 to service. So what you could do here is you can analyze statistically how many standard deviations away from it and what is the likeliness that that is actually the true cost. If it's something that is not realistic, let's say it's 2 times higher than the average, you can flag that down for which an insurance agent or your internal risk team can then look at those claims further. And this would reduce overall level fraud.
6 months timeline for your pilot is proposed. It is
Question from the chat. What changes to your proposition if TDI has already a fraud model implemented?
Absolutely. So we did research on what TD Insurance already has. It's very sparse knowledge. So we are going into the assumption that TD has basic things such as business rules and anomaly detection. Where it can really make more strides is by implementing predictive models and social networking analysis, which is all powered through machine learning. We are not knowledgeable what they currently do to a full extent. So we'd love some sort of discussion around that and how that could be implemented in the near future.
So looking back at our timeline for 6 months, it is very important to identify potential current customers of yours who are willing to share the wearable device data so that you can link your current TDI existing app with customers' wearable devices and apps through API. You also need to concentrate on building those relationships with home security partners to get even more data from your customers. Lastly, evaluating your key KPIs is key to create a long-term project. Talking about long-term plan, if the pilot is approved, you need to concentrate first on data integration, second, external marketing initiatives to let the world know about your initiatives, thirdly, change management, and lastly, long-term expansion outside of Western Canada and internationally.
With regards to cost, as we've alluded, the whole 6-month pilot cost $785,000. We're more than happy to show you how we got that exact number in the appendix slides. However, let's look over for KPIs. What should you focus on to determine if this pilot is successful? Because at the end of the day, you're trying to get a budget to do such a pilot. The first one you should be looking at is the loss ratio. You want to ensure that it does not go higher than what is predicted for 2021, which is 78%, using the data that we've gathered through financial statements. The next one is the loss ratio CAGR, which in the TD sense is your claims to revenue ratio. Right now, we want to ensure that it's decreasing as opposed to increasing which it currently is, and that metric should be less than 0.29% compounding annual growth rate. And I believe we have a question.
Yeah, there's a quick question regarding the marketing cost in the pilot stage.
I can come on and ask it. So I was wondering where the marketing costs are in your pilot, because in the timeline, marketing was included in the pilot.
Yeah, so I can tackle that question. So marketing was actually included, if we go one slide forward, marketing is included in the long-term plan, as that's when we want to start telling the average consumer about it. However, for the pilot, we've decided that we want to focus on a select group of niche customers, which we've already identified earlier, and these customers will be informed personally. So for the pilot stage, we do not need to do very much external marketing, and that'll come more in the long run. And as for why it's not in the finances, well, the finances are mostly focused on the pilot program.
Thank you. I thought year one included the pilot, but now I see you're heading there. Thanks.
No worries.
Yes. And the next one, I think, is what is the change management plan and how much does that cost? So we're more than happy to walk through our change management plan just right here. So again, the change management is all about how you're managing the change. We want to look at employees, as this might be a big change for them, as this might be something that might be really innovative within the TD insurance space. So obviously you want to email this, have internal email communication to let everyone know that this is happening and you're getting the best people on the project. In terms of actually creating some sort of desire, it's all about meeting with the steering committee, which would be VPs or the C-level executives at TD Insurance. So that is, there's some sort of backing and people understand that there's lots of importance for it. At the same time, we do foresee that there might be needs for training workshops, as people might not be familiar with a lot of the machine learning kind of tools and all the agile workshops regarding that. With regards to the specific costs, we foresee training workshops would be depending on how big the project team is, but we would budget roughly $5,000 if you're flying in or running workshops. And that'd be per workshop. So going back to the finances, so in order to see the benefit of the solution, we created two scenarios. One scenario is as is, and the other is what if you do recommend our recommendation? So if you implement a recommendation. Looking at the as is case, it is very clear that the claims paid out over 5 years are much higher than if you implement a recommendation. The compounding annual growth rate would sit at 7.46% as opposed to 3.6%. With regards to one of the other key performance indicators, which is the claims to revenue ratio, or we want to call it the loss rate, this will greatly decrease. You can see from the blue line on the right. So staying as is roughly growing at 1.9% per year. We want to decrease that by 0.29% year over year till eventually gets to the normal level of roughly 75%, which is it is now.
So we've identified certain risks as well as mitigations that TD can do to reduce the chance of these risks happening. However, let's focus on some of the two most important ones. Firstly, that customers might not want to share their wearables or their smart home device data with TD Insurance. And TD is in a decent place to mitigate this risk. TD can take the action of providing an incentive to these individuals to make them willing to share their data and also target the demographic of pioneers that is eager and willing to try these new technologies of their own accord. As for the second risk, we think that with any sort of data gathering and data storage, there is always the potential risk of a data breach, which in this scenario could reveal some sensitive customer information. TD, again, is in a great place to mitigate this risk. We believe that TD should set its data compliance guidelines far above those required legislative regulations, and this will allow you to both beat out competitors as well as have highest level of security for your customers.
So with that, we built the foundation for how TD Insurance can leverage IoT data with machine learning through establishing data acquisition channels through partners, data analysis engines with machine learning, and at the end of the day, enable solutions with fraud detection and personalization systems. What you can expect is to reduce the claim to revenue ratio by 10%, as we've shown in the finances. With that, we are more than happy to answer any more questions. And yeah, we'd love some discussions about how we can improve this situation, especially the pilot project.
Judges, you have 25 seconds left for any final question.
If there's no further questions, we want to say thank you. We know it's been a long day, and thank you very much for being here and being here for our presentation.
And that is the end of the 25 minutes. Thank you, Teams Crow's Nest, and thank you to all of our final five teams. And thank you to our judges for today. Thank you all who are watching virtually, and we hope to see you at our closing ceremony.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.